company. It's called CPK Learning Technologies, and this is my product. I thought I'd tell you a little bit about it. It's about learning language, and a lot of us here are learning languages, or at least we should be. So maybe you'll find it interesting. No disclaimer. First of all, I need to talk to people. I would like your guys' help. I need to talk to people, to Japanese people who are studying English and who are paying money for it. I want to interview them. I don't want to sell them anything, at least not yet. I just want to talk with them. So please, if anybody knows such people and is willing to introduce me, I would be forever in your debt. You can talk to me afterwards. So, our goal in learning a language is to go from somewhere around here, not knowing anything, up to somewhere around being really, really good at it. And we have a lot of tools that help us in this first part of the journey there. Textbooks help us learn from nothing and get a little further in there. We can take language classes that bump us up a little further. But there's all this really good stuff, interesting, fun stuff at the other end of that spectrum. I might want to watch movies and enjoy them in the language in which they're written. But there's a big old gap in the middle there that the textbooks don't really get you across, and the classes have a hard time getting you across. So how do people get across that now? Well, they might do study abroad, actually go and move somewhere like we have, that works sometimes. They'll study it somewhere like an HNKansai that sometimes is successful, but is expensive to say the least. There's some resources like graded readers that help, but fundamentally, it's still a really challenging sort of thing. So, this is the algorithm I used to address this kind of problem. I won't say I'm entirely across that gap, but certainly it got me a little way into it. I addressed it from a vocabulary learning perspective. And, the algorithm I would use is first find some word I want to learn. I encounter it when I'm reading or if you're studying for a test, on a vocab list or whatnot. Second, find some sentences that use that word. You can find these in a dictionary. You can search for these on Twitter. You can try and coerce Google into giving them to you. It's really not made for that, so it can be tricky. But yeah, you can find them in places. Next, you can make a flashcard out of those examples. So on the front of that flashcard, what I would do is write down just the example sentence, underline the word I'm interested in. On the back, you put the word's definition. You can put it in your own language if you're a wimp, or in the language you're learning if you're hardcore. And then finally study those. You can study them by looking at them a lot, or you can use fancy spaced repetition type software. Who here knows what spaced repetition is? Okay, who here uses Anki? Okay, good. If you don't use Anki and you're studying language, you should use Anki. So this is the algorithm I'd use. I use Anki for this. I think it's a great tool. I highly recommend it. But some parts of this are really not that easy. Step 2 and 3 take forever. They're manual steps. They're not fun. For kind of adding a single new word to this little study system, I would spend anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes just trying to find example sentences that don't suck. So I can solve this problem. This is what I do. So the first thing I made when trying to solve this problem is an example sentence search engine. Now I'm shifting here from stuff for me to study Japanese to stuff I think that a Japanese person might want to use when studying English, or anyone really would like to use when studying English. Using this tool, it's at that web address if you want to go check it out. You can type in a word and you'll get some of the short definition of the word and a bunch of example sentences. The cool thing about these example sentences is that they're actually something that someone typed in. They're from the internet, and it's just regular old language. They're filtered so that they're kind of learner-friendly. They're not too hard, they're not too easy. Yeah, they're appropriate to use when you're studying in this fashion. And additionally, it's probably kind of small, but there's a little button over here that says article. And if you press that button, you can see the article where that example sentence came from. And similarly, those articles, I only choose the articles which are kind of an appropriate level. They're not too long, they're not too short. Generally kind of consumable, but critically they are real. So it gets you farther along that spectrum from kind of this artificial textbook land into what people are really doing, so you can start enjoying life in the new language. So that's the first part. The second part, and this is the product that I'm actually making, is called ContextPower, which is the review half of all this. Basically, it takes the form of an iPhone app wherein you type in the word, and it goes out, finds those sentences for you, puts them in a little review queue, and you review them whenever you like. You see the front of a card, it has a sentence and the underlined word, and the back of a card has a definition. You can say, yes, I know it, or no, I didn't know it. And then you can look at your words and find the links to the articles and whatnot. So that's what I'm working on. Because there's some technical people here, this is kind of a high-level overview of how I went about it. I'm using the web crawler that's put together by the Internet Archive people. It's called Heritrix, and I slurped down a bunch of web data. There's some amount of cleverness that, that goes into finding good example sentences, and this is the first step, which is you only choose appropriate sites. For example, full Wikipedia is not an appropriate site for good example sentences. Simple English Wikipedia is good. About.com is good. So I scrape the sites I want, and then I do a big old batch job and process all that big old web crawl and make a small database with only the example sentences I'm interested in. And I can use that data to make the example sentence finder app that I showed you. Yeah, and then serve it up to also via small bit of server software to the iPhone client. Now, an interesting thing here for anyone who's doing iOS app development is that I'm actually using CouchDB on the client as well in order to support offline usage. Yeah, so CouchDB is a kind of database. It's very good at replication, among other things. So when you add a new sentence, I add it to the server database and then it's synchronized such that in the future I can also have a web version and so on and so forth. And it works when you're in the tunnel in the train. So that's going to be available in November. I swear that will be available in November. I've been working on it for some time now. And again, please, if anybody knows someone who is currently attending an eikaiwa, a Japanese person who is spending money to further their English capabilities, I want to talk with them. I will not sell them anything unless they really ask to be sold something, but I very much want to learn how they think and what makes them tick. So that's all. I'll take questions or. Yeah.
Do you have a Japanese version?
So not for learning Japanese, no. I want it. I can't.
One step at a time, I guess.
Well, I can't convince myself yet that it's worth spending time on. Unfortunately, this piece here does a fair bit of work in kind of in the context of English. It has to know how to pull apart raw text into words and kind of deconjugate those words and to find them in the dictionary and stuff like that.
Right. So Japanese would be quite different.
So yeah, you got to redo all that stuff. I really want it.
Wouldn't conjugation be easier in Japanese?
Yes, it would. However, conversely, doing the word, there's a word for it, I forgot, but pulling out the words, separating the words is much harder.
Right.
It's just a different problem there. Yeah?
Is the reviews using any space repetition algorithm? Or?
Yes, it is. So it is. The unique thing about this space repetition algorithm is that it does it in the context of the word you're learning, not in the context of the item you're reviewing. So there are many example sentences for any given word, and I'll record, effectively, it records your knowledge or model your knowledge about that particular word rather than about that sentence.
Yeah.
Whereas a system like Anki that has no knowledge of the underlying structure of the way you're studying can't do that. So it allows me to be a little bit smarter about that.
So for example, if I'm studying word A and word B, if you find a sentence, and I'm studying word A at the moment, I've studied word B in the past, if a sentence comes up that happens to have word A and word B in it at the same time, that sentence would be more likely to come up while I'm studying?
It would happen to be because, yes, it would be a member of both of those sets.
By the way, the problem of breaking up is
Japanese sentence into words, it's already been solved by several projects.
Yes, I know. Yes, I know. It's just work. I'm trying to be very, very pragmatic. Yeah.
Sorry, I might have missed it, but what is the flow inside the app when the users are learning the words? Are these words that they've searched in the app and then they add to their own list, or
Yeah.
is it? So
I didn't show the first one.
does
The
it
first
act-
step is you input your word.
Okay.
Sorry. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I guess my question would be when I'm learning Japanese and there's a word that I don't know, I look up that word in a dictionary, and then I want to add it to a list or something like that. Does it have dictionary capabilities so the users can get the meaning of the word and then use the example sentence?
So it shows a short definition, and then you can choose to add it to your study list. Yeah. I want to improve that part of the UI, but basically that's the same idea I have. So, yeah.
Do you support do you support pre-lesson plans, I guess you can call them? So if a teacher can already pre-program it and give it to a student, a pre-programmed set, and so the student doesn't have to go looking for the word, they can follow a sort of
Yeah, yeah. I don't have that supported. I've designed the system such that it should be easy enough to add. I honestly, right now, don't know how to form, how to design a system for that because I haven't talked to enough teachers. But if I think that there's money there, frankly, that is the system that I originally set out to make. I thought it would be really good in a classroom context, but I couldn't figure out how to make a business out of that. I think there's more opportunity selling to individuals. Okay.
Yeah, no question. The example sentences, does the user choose those sentences, or is it different every time?
So you slowly rotate through the set of sentences. The user doesn't choose them. They all show up. You can delete them, and you can skip them if you're angry at a certain sentence, which happens. But no, fundamentally, they just come up automatically.
So does that mean as you scrape new content, new sentences could possibly show up?
Yes. I don't do that yet, but I want to.
Okay.
If you ask what a word means that has a bunch of definitions, does it ask you which definition you want, or is it just add 10?
So I started out trying to make a system that could do that. It turns out that's one of the big unsolved problems in natural language processing. It's called Wordsensedisambiguation.
Yeah.
So given a sentence, choose a word in that sentence. Now, which dictionary definition does it go through? Does it go with? That's effectively the same thing as having full AI.
But he's saying have the person.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that way. I was thinking the other way, where the person would say or whatever.
So I do show just the list of all the different meanings.
Okay.
You cannot choose which one you want to study,
Okay.
nor can you see which sense goes with a particular example. Those are unfortunately kind of intractable right now, not without a whole lot of manual work.
Okay.
That's the system I want, though.
User, but then the example sentences, you
Yeah.
wouldn't be able to differentiate.
Okay, cool.
Thanks.